Okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay. Praise Yahuwah. Hallelujah. All esteem to your name, Almighty One and Ancient of Days. Hallelujah. You're worthy to be praised, Abiyah. Father, first and foremost, we thank and praise you for this set apart day. We thank you for giving us all life and health and strength today. We thank you for soundness of mind, for activity of limbs, and for every other blessing which you've bestowed upon us. We just praise your name. We know, oh Yah, that you give all things. We know that you have supported us, you have upheld us, even as a people. And although you were angry for a while with Yasharel, you are awakening us and returning us to the path of righteousness. And we just cannot thank you or praise you enough for that. Hallelujah. All esteem to you, Yah. Father, I pray that you would be in the midst of this reading and that you would give us wisdom and knowledge and comprehension and the ability to discern your word and to know what you're saying to us. I pray, oh Yah, that the Ruach HaKodesh would be in the midst, leading us and guiding us into all truth and righteousness. Yah, I pray that you would increase in all of us and that we would decrease. I pray that you would be glorified and magnified and that you would just have your way in this gathering. I ask that you would bless every person on this call and every household represented here, and even those who will not be on this call, but we are yet in fellowship with, and we know that they love you. I just ask that you would bless everyone. I also ask that you would bless all of your people wherever they may be, Yah, scattered in the diaspora, even in the four corners of the earth. Bless all of your people and give to each one according to their need, Father. I pray that you would protect us and that you would keep us and that we would just remember to keep our eyes fixed on you. Again, we thank and praise you for everything. And I pray all these things in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. And so be it. Amen.
Hallelujah.
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 So, the book of Esther. That's what we're going to start. I know I said we were going to start. I know I said that we were going to start our Matthew, but considering that, by the count that we used to start this year, as we started April 8th, last year we did Pesach April 22nd, this year to be April 12th. By that count, I have Purim, which is what the book of one of many things that the book of Esther is about, on March 22nd and the 23rd, because I think they celebrated the 14th and the 15th day, but we'll find that out as we go through this. With that being said, and Shelly, can you cut the heat down a little bit for me? At least one. I feel it getting hot already. It takes place in the throne, and this Ahasuerus is really Xerxes, sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan. See Shushan here. It's in Persia. So, because I know I tried to bring this up, I had it wrong. I think I said Susanna, one of them was uh um buried there, but I figured out who it was, though, who they say is buried there. I don't know who's buried there, but as you see in this Wikipedia, as I bring up Iran, well, we know Iran, right, is this enemy of America today, right? Well, it says Persian was the historical name of one of the ethnic groups in Iran with the reforms Reza Shah, I believe, was implemented. The adoption of a new name of the country was seen as restoring Iran's historical legacy. While Persia had fallen victim to imperialism, Iran would be free from foreign control, and so on and so forth. So I just read that quickly to show that when you hear on the news Iran and this nation Iran, that is considered to be ancient Persia, right? Um, Not for nothing, but just trying to, put a face on this area that we're in, understanding that the Persians conquered this land from the Babylonians. And we read that story about the hand being written on the wall a couple weeks ago, where Nebuchadnezzar's son was drinking out of the vessels that they had took out of the temple of Yah, and the hand was on the wall, and he lost the kingdom that night to the Persians, right? The city Shushan, also known as Susa, is an ancient city in what is now Iran or Persia. It was the capital of Elam and later the Medo-Persian Empire. Shushan is a significant city in Bible appearing in the books of Esther, Nehemiah, and Daniel. And the book of, and all of them would have lived at around the same time, as I should say. I know we was looking and I thought it was Susanna from the Apocrypha, but it wasn't. It is, ironically, in Shushan is where it's believed that Shushan, also known as Susa, was the city where the prophet Daniel had the vision in the Bible. And it's where they believe that he is buried. According to Jewish and Muslim tradition, the prophet Daniel is buried in Shushan, Susa, or Iran. The tomb of Daniel is a popular pilgrimage site for both Muslims and Iran's Jewish community, of which I don't know about Iran's Jewish community, but I do know that you have African descended Israelites there that live in Iran. They got there via the slave trade when it went west. With that being said, I know they had a picture of, here it is, the picture, that so-called picture of it, not for nothing, but I guess the belief is that the prophet Daniel is buried here. And Muslims would go here because if you know anything about Islam and the Quran, it believes in the Old Testament. It believes in the prophecies of people like Daniel, or at least they say they do. They don't follow it, but just like Christianity, they say they do. They ain't following it though. So just to put some context on Shushan, Iran, which is really present day Persia, which is why when you read Gog and Magog and it talks about all these nations in the end that's going to come against it and start this Gog Magog war with not it doesn't say Iranians, it says the Persians. And if you don't know that history, you would know that the Iranians are possibly the Persians. Now you think about the world today with the wars and the tumult that's in the world. They are dead smack, even though they ain't necessarily at war. They are dead smack, at least the way the news speaks, in the middle of all of this. So-called, they are the provider for Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis in Yemen. And, they the boogeyman to Jewish-controlled American media. Naturally, they would be. But that's just another point, in the way the world is going. And I know the world is crazy. We all need to continue to lift each other up in prayer and to stand fast with our brothers and sisters and, just anybody who we know that's struggling right now, or even if some of us are struggling, we all need to be praying and we need to be on call for each other right now because granted, they're around here grabbing Latin folks, right? But if you listen to the way these heathens that ain't got power in Washington is talking, they talking real jazzy about everybody. For example, they grabbing Latin folks, but yet DEI is why these planes is falling out the sky and crashing, right? And DEI is code word for niggas. Know that. Niggas and gays. When you hear them blame something on DEI, they saying gay people and Negroes are not competent enough to be doing nothing, which is kind of funny. I always told y'all I got a weird sense of humor. That cracks me up a little bit. So it's not just Latin folks. It is an attack in this country. So let's make sure at the very least that we stay on call and we stay in prayer about each other, for each other, and just asking Yah to protect us, to provide for us, to strengthen us. Because, I try not to be knee jerk with what's going on, but I read my Bible and I read it. I try my best to read it with a clear mind, without any preconceived notions about nobody or nothing. And, you know, I also follow the world's affairs, not because I care about the world's affairs, but I'm always looking for the prophecy and the things that's going on. So I read more news, especially now, than I watch. And I read it from all over. I try to read the local paper in China that's written in English. What do they say locally there? What do they say locally in these spots? These papers in English are translated that I can read in. By all accounts, I was just telling my wife this yesterday, trying not to get too far ahead, but I feel like we're in the process of the end of the world. I, I try not to even throw them, because some people throw them terms around loosely. I do not throw that around loosely. But just looking at the prophecy and what's going on in the world, it's like, and I think I said this, some of us were discussing this maybe last week because I didn't make this Friday, but this just seems like the perfect scene for this world to continue to crash and burn, and some figure to pop out of nowhere and promise these heathens that we can help you get back to your white supremacist, anti Israel policies where you done lived these glory years for the last few thousand years, as the time of the Gentiles has been at hand. This ain't just started, it's been thousands of years. And it ain't just white supremacists, because it's other nations that play into that, right? But this world order that has benefited you while Israel has struggled, I can see some figure, as this world continues to collapse, come out of nowhere and say, I can help y'all restore that. You just got to do whatever it is, bow to me, worship me, burn all these Bibles, ain't none of that, kill this horde that's on this beast, as we talked about. I believe that horde that's on the beast is these Ashkenazi Jews. And the world is starting to already turn on them like y'all reckless. But they ain't turning on them to say these folks right here is really Israel and y'all lying and it's the truth. No, they turning on them because now you starting to go against our world order. And I can just see us being in a time where the right things will happen. And some figure will be anointed as the savior of all of that and help us get our pro us anti-Israel, even if they don't know we Israel, the order is anti-Israel. Order back, and we'll bow to you. And we know that that person in Scripture is the Antichrist. Um, I do not believe that person to be nobody in power today. Your Donald Trump, your Elon Musk, they all gonna be a part of the fall. They're already part of the fall. The world is on edge at these folks, man, with what they doing over here. They talking jazzy about all kind of stuff. And went in and fired a lot of the top brass of the FBI. Like, it's real over here. Understanding that our Elohim is all powerful, but it's real, right? So make sure you all continue. This is a time of prayer. This is going to be a time of faith. Faith is going to be tested. Faith is going to be tested by people around you. And that's even more reason why we're going to have to be in prayer and we're going to have to stand strong, because for our families and the people we've been talking to who kind of want to hear, don't want to hear, may hear a little, whatever the case may be, the faith that we are about to have to show in the face of all adversity is going to be what makes some of them say, this gotta be real. Because while it's hectic here, I'm watching these folks still have shalom. So understand, I always quote the Tupac and Scarface song, Smile, at the beginning, what Pac said, there's going to be some stuff you're going to see that's going to make it hard to smile. That may be true, but stay faithful and continue to speak life into people, continue to bring peace up on the household or to wherever you go, especially if they receive you. And if they don't, dust off your shoes and take it with you when you leave. But faith is going to be hard for some people to come by. And we're going to be the ones to show that by being faithful, Yah will make a way, during these times. It is a real time. I'm not here to downplay that in no kind of way. Some of this Susanna is in blue. The parts that's in blue, there was not Susanna, Esther. The parts that's in blue was in the Apocryphas, we talk about they took the Apocrypha out in 1885, I believe. They took it out the Bible. This was all once part of the Bible. And these parts of Susanna, because I've read through them, they kind of just put the story back in a particular order. Um, I may or may not go into some of them, and I think it kind of just add context to some. And it's just for whatever reason they took certain parts of this book out. Who knows? But just the 10 chapters that I believe are in the KJV is enough to get the understanding of the story. But just so you understand, some of this blue we may chat through. And we're reading this to go into Purim, which I believe to be March 22nd, if I'm not mistaken. With that being said, the book of Esther. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, maybe. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Now, Akashvarash is his name. Akashvarash. But they really call him Xerxes. Artaxerxes or Xerxes is the title rather than the name. I guess Xerxes was probably like the title of a king in Persia. So I'm going to call him Xerxes when I go through this so you know. Now it came to pass. Now it came to pass in the days of Xerxes. This is Xerxes, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia. So it shows you how big of a kingdom the Persian Empire was at its height, because this would be the height of it. And you even think about this today, somebody reigning from India to Ethiopia. A, that would include a ton of people because there's 1 point something billion in India alone. B, it would be a fight of all fights for somebody to be trying to conquer this type of region today. This makes up too many nations within the mix of this. And this depends on where they put Ethiopia at, because I'm sure the word here for Ethiopia is really meaning Kush, which I don't even know the borders of that region. But it's covering a lot of land, and it says over 172 provinces or 127 provinces, right? That in those days, when the king Xerxes sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, as we seen, they said that that's where it's believed Daniel had a prophecy at. It's believed that Daniel died and is buried there, or at least that's just, mainstream belief. I haven't researched that, so let me say that that's just mainstream belief. I'm not validating it. But he had a palace there. I will validate that I believe he had a palace there, though. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all the princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. So he threw a feast for all of the powerful people there. Kind of sound like what's going on in America today. The inauguration, all of the richest people in the country spent $1 million for a front row seat. From them lucky, I ain't had no million. I'd have spent my million, been in there booing him. They'd had to escort me out. It'd have been the best million I ever spent. I'd have been on the news like, who's that black man? They had to escort him out of there. He spent a lot of money for that. I'd have did it with glee too. But kind of sound like that, but I don't want to liken it to that. But the most powerful people here, the nobles, the princes, the power of Persia, it says in Media. He threw a feast for them. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent, he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180, which is 80 days. Understanding that the Enoch calendar is a 360-day calendar, which I believe that's what they would have been. Matter of fact, I'm sure that's what they'd have been under. The Gregorian calendar wouldn't have not have made its way through these parts yet. No, it wouldn't have, it comes after this actually. But can you imagine somebody throwing a feast for 6 months? Which once again kind of remind me of what's going on today, because I can see these people throwing this feast they throwing with this United States government at least for the next 6 months before it really hits the fan on recklessness. But who am I the way this stuff's going, man? we might wake up tomorrow and the unthinkable didn't happen. You already had the unthinkable happen multiple times in these first 10 days. Dude been in office 10 days. He out here wilding, but y'all willing, we gonna be okay. 6 months. Y'all remember I said that. This dude took office January 20th. By July 20th, I got a feeling I don't know what this might look like come the summer. But a 6 months feast, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 6 months, 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace. So when that feast ended, he made another feast for the everyday folks that were in the palace and in Shushan, both unto the great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. If that don't sound like governments today, we do everything for these rich folks. 6 months they feast. For you poor folks, we got to feast too. 7 days. Y'all got to get back to work. And I don't even show y'all the riches and the honor of the glory of the kingdom. Y'all just come up here and get a meal in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Y'all don't even get to come in the palace. That sounds like governments today for sure. That sounds like governments today for sure. And he had this talk about the decorations. Where were white, green, and blue hangings, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings and pearls of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon the pavement of red, blue, and white and black marble. Looked like it was decked out in this spot. It definitely looked decked out in this spot. Verse 8, and the drinking was according to the law. Now, let me read this too because see, in the Septuagint here, it said, and this banquet was not according to the appointed law, but so the king would have it, and he charged the stewards to perform his will and that of the company. So, and I guess it does say that none did comply, saying that it was against whatever their law was. Something about this banquet was against it. But the king still charged that the people, the officers of his house, that they would do according to every man's pleasure, right? Also, Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King, what was his name? Akashvarash, but Xerxes for short. Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Xerxes. So while the men were in here doing this, the queen threw a feast for the women. Okay. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mayumin, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Xerxes, the king. So the chamberlains, I'm assuming, are some of his closest advisors. I didn't even look that up. Let's see. Ceres is the chamberlain, a eunuch, a valet, a minister, some of his closest advisors, officers. He commanded them to bring Vashti, the queen, before the king with the crown royal to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look upon. So he wanted his wife brought. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. The queen was like, I don't want to come kick it with y'all. I kind of find that kind of funny, actually. But the queen was like, I don't want to come over there with you. I don't know what y'all do. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner towards all that knew law and judgment, he inquired these people. And next to him was Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face and which sat the first in the kingdom. So they seen that the king was pretty mad about this, how this what went down. What shall we do unto the queen, Vashti, according to the law? because she have not performed the commandment of the king Xerxes by the chamberlain. Which I'm sure in this kingdom, if you didn't perform the commandment of the king, probably meant a death sentence, a hanging or something of that nature, whatever they were doing. And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Xerxes. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. When it shall be reported, the king Xerxes commanded Vashti, the queen, to be brought in before him, but she came not. So the men, just like men, was like, you got to check your woman, or she gonna have all the other women thinking they can act like her. And they like, because if Shelly get to acting like that, I'm busting her in her head. Not saying that we doing that, but that's how they was talking to him. Like, you gotta get your, you know what? I actually told somebody that before. I was around an older couple and he was telling me how his wife do this and that. And they was, when we was at a party, and they like, why you ain't bring Shelly? And when I heard his wife talking, I leaned over to him and said, that's why I ain't bringing Shelly. She can't be here listening to you old married folks talking like these women running a buck. Oh man, you could not be in here like that. I was joking with him though, but it was I've heard men say things like that, like, no, my wife can't be cool with your wife. You let your wife do too much. That's what they said to Xerxes. Like, you got to do something. She gonna have these women thinking they could check us. And you know what? I thought about this too when I was the irony of this, and knowing that Iran is ancient Persia today, you know, if you believe that, because I know that doesn't fit the doctrine of whatever. But if you think about Iran today, women still ain't got no rights because of Vashta. They can't drive. They gotta have their heads covered. Them Iranians do not play. And I thought about that yesterday. Like, boy, I don't know if that's really ancient Persia, but you can see where whatever this decree from Xerxes was, they still standing by it. I think they don't let their women go to college. They can't. I know they can't drive, and I know they got to be covered up at all times. Like, no, we don't give them no. Vashti. Matter of fact, I ever meet an Iranian woman, I'm gonna tell her Vashti messed that up for all y'all. Thousands of years later, they still won't even let y'all drive because of her. I thought that was funny. Like, they still ain't playing behind that decree. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. They like, I'm not gonna be fighting in the crib with my wife, man, because your woman, the queen, think you got to stand on that, king. 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before the king Xerxes, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. The decree was, you got to kick her out the royal house, strip all of that wealth, put her in the streets with these common folks. She then went from Jasmine to Aladdin, which I believe that was supposed to be like Persia, if I'm not mistaken. If you all remember the Disney cartoon, Jasmine was the princess, Aladdin was the street rat, as they was called. No, she got to get kicked out in the streets. Let her go fend for herself out here to show all our women, you get the plan, we're gonna kick you out in the streets. And you gotta get it, you gotta pick another wife, one better than her. And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great. Yeah, from India to Ethiopia, it covers a lot of land, 127 provinces, and ain't no telling how many people. Like, man, in today's time, you talking billions of people, maybe 2.5, 3 billion people in that region that they're talking about. Published throughout all his empire, for it is great. All the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And like I say, I just find it funny considering that Iran is considered to be present day Persia. And they have some of the strictest laws in the world today when it comes to how they move and what they women can and can't do. So much so that, it makes the news every once in a while. Some woman makes a Snapchat video without her head covered and they sentence them to death. Like they be over there going to I'm going to say it's extreme, but on the same token, I don't judge their extreme because if that's the laws of their land and you didn't signed up for this, then as reckless as that is, follow the law. Don't just die. Because I remember seeing a story where it was like a woman, I ain't gonna say she died, but she had like posted like an Instagram video or something, talking about something without her head covered, and they like sent her to jail for a year, which is still kind of extreme. But if you know the punishment of this, just don't just die and go to jail for no recklessness, to be on the ground. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna do that, do it for something, in my opinion, more impactful than that. But it may be impactful to them based off how it's going. But the decree says that the women, the wives need to honor their husbands, which I guess that's Bible. I want to say Torah says that the wives should honor their husband as well. And the same pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his house, in his own house. Let me read that again. He sent into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. So, which means that Xerxes had some people around speaking Hebrew, because we know some Israelites within this kingdom. But under these 27 provinces, who knows how many different languages you got? He had it written in every language that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. So Vashti didn't want to come see Xerxes and his guys. They was in there watching the Super Bowl or something. And y'all know how that go. We're here watching the Super Bowl. You call your woman in here to bring some chips, and she like, I ain't coming in there with you and you Negroes. Well, anyway, Xerxes was like, nah, we gonna make it a decree. Any woman who don't do it, she is to be put away and kicked out the house. And in today's times, I'm sure that punishment is a lot more strict, considering the things that you hear about the way Iran treat their women, or how they enforce however they feel about their women, which is their business, right? But chapter 1, any questions or comments about this before we go forward? Like I say, I'm just reading through this. We're getting to Purim and what's coming up. And there's some interesting things in this story that just stands out to me. So if anybody got any questions or comments, you could just stop at any time. We just read. I'm just reading. Shabbat shalom, Mike Daniel, too. It's good to see you.
Shabbat shalom.
It's good to see you. Can you see yourself standing on Sharon like this, Ock?
We'll talk about that offline, Ock.
That's funny. I kind of figured you was going to say something like that. Oh. Oh, man. Chapter 2. Now we get to where we going. Which, now just think about that. She didn't want to do, and this goes to show you that Yah's always in control. There's a couple things that happened in this story that says that to me, because for something as simple as that, because they were feasting too. So I'm sure, was probably already regal and dressed and cleaned and and she still was like, nah, I don't want to come over there with y'all, right? And because of that, a decree was sent for all the women. She was kicked out of the royal house, right? And then this is how Esther becomes the queen, which leads to, all things, multiple things can be true at once, because even kind of how we were talking about earlier in Josh's call, I made a point. The point I was trying to make was, it was a multiple points I was making, but one of the points I was making is Yah doesn't need any of us for anything. He chooses us for things, and he makes way for us, which he made way for David after David was thirsty. David was really just thirsty. We all have been through it. I'd have been thirsty before in my life too. I'm thankful that Yah made a way for me. But he uses that to use Esther to save Israel. And it's just one of the ways that Yah shows us that he is truly in control of all things. But remember this, as things, go whichever way they may go. Chapter 2, verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Xerxes was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. Let us get you a new wife, a virgin. And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hege, Haggai, I guess, I don't know these pronunciations, a eunuch of Xerxes, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given to them. So this was a big deal. Kind of reminds you of like Disney stories like Cinderella, where it's like, or even the Prince and the Frog or whatever, where it was known, or the Princess and the Frog, where it was like, the prince or the king is coming looking for a wife, and everybody got to get themselves together trying to be chosen in the kingdom. And he just sent to every province and appointed officers to get all of the fairest virgins from every province for the king to choose a wife. Kind of remind you how some of these like fairy tale stories is spoken when kings and princesses come into places looking for wives or whatnot. And their things of purification be given to them. And let the maiden which pleased the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Let the maiden which pleased the king be queen instead of Vashti. And he said, that's cool. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Israelite. It's a place where they show you. This is one of very few places where you see the word Jew in the Old Testament, and we see it means a descendant, a Yehudite, that is a Yehudite or Jew, or descendant of Yehuda is what that saying is trying to say. That is Judah is saying. But as we go through this, we know that Mordecai is from Benjamin, as it says right here, whose name Mordecai, the son of Yair, the son of Shemi, the son of Kish, a Benjaminite, which is not a descendant of Yehuda. It go to show you how this word Jew sometimes is the way it's used and thrown around can be a little misleading. Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Yehuda, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. So Mordecai was one of the people in Jerusalem carried away, a Benjaminite. He was living in Jerusalem, which we know that Benjamin did always live amongst Yehuda. I guess that's a way a person could say, well, they just use Jew because Benjamin always kind of lived amongst Yehuda. Okay. I think it's used a little carelessly, but okay. He was just an Israelite, right? But he was one of the ones carried away with Daniel, who was one of the ones in Jerusalem amongst the king's court carried away. And I don't know who all else, but I know Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would have been some, and so on and so forth. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther. So Esther's real name is Hadassah, her bread name. Hadassah. Let's see what it means. That's the feminine of Hades, the myrtle. I don't know about that. But Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter. So Mordecai's uncle's daughter, which would be his cousin, I want to say, he brought her up. Unc probably died in the fighting with the Babylonians then, so he done dedicated his life to make sure his cousin was okay. For she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. Think about how often that happened amongst our people. How many people through, disease, but even gangs and violence, and I'm sure every one of y'all probably know somebody who, for whatever situation, the way it go with our people, they've been raised by an uncle or aunt or granny. I feel like that's a sign of our people, because that's something I feel like is just like you hear so much about our people. Such and such raised such and such because they such and such couldn't be there for whatever reason. But a lot of us growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was drugs. Such and such parents on drugs. My auntie raised me. My granny raised me. You know. Verse 8. So it came to pass. It came to pass when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther or Hadassah was brought also into the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, which that's the glory of Yah, I'm sure, being seen on her. And he speedily gave her her things for purification. He pushed her application through. You know what? And that's the Israelite on you, right? You get around the heathen and he looking and he like, you know what, that you look just as good, if not better than all these folks, but the way you act and you carry yourself, let me speed you through. I think some of these other women from these other nations, they back here unruly. Might have been some other Israelite women back there unruly and just living any old kind of way. Let me get you, which I think that's important in today's time too, because you always hear that debate about modesty. What is it to be modest for a woman? And I've seen situation amongst I'll say, when I say younger, I mean in their 40s, around my age and younger, to where modesty don't even matter no more. Like, who being modest? That's lame now. And we see in this time, I'm likening it to that. I don't know if it's that, but just likening it to that. Modesty, righteousness, being regal, being reserved, benefited Esther. He pushed her application through with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. So he really, and that go to show you Yah being in control. He like, you the best of these women. I'm gonna make sure you get the first spot, the best position. I can see you being the one the king chose. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred. She ain't told him you're Israelite though. Hey, think about that. See, the thing over here in America, and this go with all that LGBTQ when they be trying to act like they struggle here is like black folks, right? And to each his own with your struggle. That's your business. But you ain't Negroes. And the reason why you not is because, I want to say sadly, but that's their business. You can hide being gay. You can hide that. People hide that every day. I believe there's a lot of athletes in the NBA and the NFL that's gay, and they hide it because they know in them professions, being in there with the men, that's still frowned upon in them locker rooms. You can hide that. I believe there's a lot of politicians who gay who hide that because that's frowned upon in that type of position. It's even still kind of slightly frowned upon in Hollywood because I believe there's more actors and actresses that's gay. You can hide that. I want to say sadly, but it's really not sadly. That's your business. With that being said, and one of you all correct me if I'm wrong, I ain't never been at a high being black. I don't care where I was at. I knew I was black. I don't care where I'd ever been. I knew I was an African American, as they would call me then. You can't hide that. In this case, and this also speak to all these people being a melanated folks too, because Esther don't stick out being Israel. So we know she ain't surrounded by no Arabs or no white boys, right? No, she ain't told them she an Israelite yet. Some of y'all that did that. I was just talking to my aunt at my auntie funeral who Amy was talking about. He was telling me about this elderly woman he be talking to her with. And he said they've been talking Bible for a while. And he just recently told her that he was a Hebrew Israelite, which I don't know why he did it like that. But on the same token, my aunt, for whatever reason, kind of gravitates to some camp doctrine. I won't say all, but he do. He has. Don't let me say he do. I don't know. We haven't discussed some of it in a while. But some of us that be right around each other on some of these calls, we gravitate to some camp doctrine. So I ain't saying that like it's the most terrible thing in the world, but it could get a little reckless though. But anyway, he told me after talking Bible for however long it's been with this woman, he told her he was one of them Hebrew Israelites, and he said the tone changed with the woman. So he said it. Some of y'all probably done been through that. Like even at the funeral, because it was multiple people like, yeah, I told y'all it was a woman who said she might want me to speak in front of her church and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of alluded to what it was because I'm like, we going to speak Hebrew. And I was calling them in their names and doing all of that. Angel, my witness, her and Shelly. Yet, if I tell some of them people like, yeah, you know, Buddy them will be on the corner in the purple suits, I agree with that. The tone might change. And rightfully so with that because them niggas would be reckless. That's why that's so reckless, though. Esther ain't told them she an Israelite yet. And that's what I see happening there. Because Mordecai had charged her that she should, no, don't tell her, hey, you already know how it go, man. You know, everything cool right now. You get to telling them you an Israelite, though. Some things up here might change now. Let's not do that. It's to the point where I don't tell people I'm no Israelite, though. I just speak on we the people of the book, and if you pick it up, you pick it up. But I ain't got to just identify with nothing. It is what it is. You see it in the way I carry myself and how I talk Bible. I think that's kind of funny, considering how this go today. She has not told them she an Israelite. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. He checking on her. This is little cousin, but he raised her as his daughter and he loved her. He going by the court every day. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go into the king Xerxes, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women's, for so were the days of their purification accomplished. It took 12 months to be completely pure, or pure enough to go before the king. I'm not sure what kind of purification they going through, but, you know, it is what it is. Because it only take, 60 days for a woman, even after having given birth in Israel, to be back clean, but, you know. To wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of a woman. I don't know what kind of purifying they doing here, but that's a little extreme, it seemed like. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women to the custody of Shaashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. So when you went into the king, if you were chosen, I'm assuming, you went where his other concubines was. This king got wives, and you didn't go and see the king no more unless the king requested you. That's important to know. Now, when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, let me say that right. I'm gonna butcher none of them. This might be somebody uncle in here. That's why we gotta get these Hebrew names right. This might be somebody uncle off of here. Abihail. Abihail. I'm still butchering. That is possessor of might. He might have been a mighty man. He was the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king. She required nothing, but that Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked up on her. Esther didn't need no whole bunch of nothing. You know, they said you give you whatever, so they probably requested gold and crowns and chains and jewelry and the prettiest linen and purple and scarlet, as the Bible say, and I can't even imagine what all somebody might request of a king. You can request anything, you know. If this was happening in today's time, the women would be like, I need a Chanel bag and a Ferrari before. Hey, before I walk in there with Phil, I need a bag. I need a bag. I need a Rari. I need a Dior dress. I only say those things because that's what's considered the high life now. I'm going to need it, though. You got some women now that'll be requesting plastic surgery. Look, he got to get my boobs done. Before I come in there, we live in a weird, I say that jokingly, but on the real, it would be like that if this was happening today. We live in a weird time of what we value as valuable to be seen. Esther said, don't give me nothing. Just give me a decent dress to dress up in. I'm finna go see what this king talking about. Esther probably don't even really want to be there, but she there. And matter of fact, that's probably why Mordecai told her, don't tell nobody who you is, because more than likely she probably told Mordecai, I don't want to be married to no heathen king. And he was like, nah, just go see it out. You never know how to go. Don't tell nobody you're an Israelite, though. To me, that sounds like Mordecai was trying to convince Esther, yeah, you should do it. She probably didn't even want to do this. It may not have had no choice because it sounded like the king made a decree. All fair virgins is to be sent to me. So I can see Mordecai telling her that too. Like, if you don't do this, man, it might get hectic for our people here. Now, to my understanding, this story is before Ceres comes and frees Israel and sends them back to Jerusalem. I could be wrong in that timeline, but that's to my understanding. So now we don't want it to be no more hectic for our people here, Esther. Just go on there and handle what you got to handle. So Esther was taken unto the king Xerxes into his royal house in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, which go to show you modesty. I'm likening this to modesty. I don't know exactly what this looked like, but I believe it was some type of modest appearance, like my own wife, Shelly. Like Big Mike say about Ebony, Esther probably was 90s fine. You feel me? It didn't take all that. It still pay to have that. It still pay to have that. She found favor more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. And this is so important as we go through this story. But just think about how just a little tinkering by Yah changes everything. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, Esther's feast. And he made a release to the province and gave gifts according to the state of the king. Esther already blessing the kingdom, all 127 provinces, the king giving gifts to the folks because of Esther. See how I pay to be a righteous Israelite. See how Yah blessed this world because of us. This is why, now that I think about it, this is the point of Israel. This was the point of choosing Israel. If y'all represent me right, you alone, the nation of you all, will be a gift to these folks. You'll be a gift to the world. The reason why you'll be a gift to the world and it's why the world is so wicked now, because Israel fell, and our job was to show this world as a nation of people what righteousness was. And once we became an unrighteous nation, it's why the world is in such darkness now, because without Israel being that beacon of light to show this world what righteousness in the physical looks like, Hamashiach ain't walking in the physical no more. He's here though, right? The world didn't have a choice but to fall into darkness. Who was going to teach it the light? Which is why during these trying times, Israel, we're going to have to pray. We're going to have to be patient. And we're going to have to let this world see the light that still shines off us as this darkness becomes a gross darkness. And it may already be a gross darkness. We live in a crazy world. For real. Craziest times ever. Craziest times ever. Uncertain. Definitely in the last 70 years, but I guess I can't say ever because I could see some people who was around at the time of the fall of the Roman Empire saying, boy, it was crazy. You know, it's hard to parse, man. I don't know. See, that's why I said what I said to you Tuesday, Obadiah, man. Can you imagine, man? See, if you was 930, we could say, Obadiah, was it this crazy when Rome fell? You have an answer. That's wild to think about living to be 900, man. Somebody asks you, when Rome fell, was it as crazy as it is now? And you might have an answer. That's just an incredible thing to think about. Y'all allowed these people to live in that. But this is why we have to be the light. We have to be Esther in this case. The light of Esther brought gifts to not just Israel, the whole world. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, Mordecai sat in the king's gate. And I think this is going back. And see, part of that blue, I think this part of the story is going back. And part of the Apocrypha, the parts that were taken from this that you see in the blue, because I know it starts chapter 1 where we read, where I jumped over that blue. It starts with this story, trying to put it in a timeline, I guess, saying that this story has happened before all of that. But, you know, even with it being in a looking back type of mentality, it still works. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her, for Esther did the commandment of Mordecai like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand on King Xerxes. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther, the queen. Okay, so maybe it was after, because she's the queen already, I'm so. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. He told Esther, like, some of his servants out here gonna kill him when he come back through here. And Esther let it be known to the king, look, my uncle in the court said they gonna blah, blah, blah. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree. It was found out that it was true. Yeah, they trying to do that. And he hung them on a tree. And it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. That's an important part to this story. So now you have Esther, the queen, who the king loves above all of these women he'd been seeing. He'd put the crown on her, made her the king. And then her uncle told me that these folks was talking about killing me. Two Israelites doing something righteous. I know 2 Fridays ago, I posed this question to y'all, all things considered. And I guess that just answered it now because Esther is the queen, I'm assuming, at this time in there. Esther is the queen. And maybe that's why he did it, because Esther in there. And we know that I don't think Esther has seen the king ever since she was appointed queen. I think she just sent a message to him about Mordecai. The king has concubines, so he's going in unto them. He's not even being bothered with Esther, which also kind of speaks to why Vashti didn't want to come. She probably was just a queen and he was sleeping and messing around with all his concubines. And so finally, when he called her at this feast trying to show her off, she was like, call your concubines. But he ain't feel that, right? So, but it still makes sense now to me why Mordecai would do this, because a couple of weeks ago, and I always thought, this stood out to me, like, why did Mordecai care to help this king? He wasn't an Israelite. Our people, I believe, are still in subjection to the Persians at this time. I don't know if it's slavery like the whip and the raping of your mamas and all of that, but it's still a captivity, quote unquote. Why did he care to help this king, this heathen? But he did. You know, and I think Esther, now that I look at it, Esther being queen probably played a part into that. But Mordecai alerted him of that, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles of the King. Chapter 3. After these things did King Xerxes promote Haman, the son of Hameda. Nah, let me figure that out. It wasn't even all that. Medatha, the son of Medatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So now King Xerxes then promoted this Agagite, I think it's Agagite, I could be saying that wrong, above all the princes. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, which we know by this time we done been through Babylon, so these Israelites know the story of Daniel. Like, nah, we wasn't bowing to Nebuchadnezzar. I definitely ain't bowing to no Haman. He ain't on nothing. And you know what's crazy? Slowly but surely, I don't know how many will, but we've already seen after some of these black celebrities talked all that junk about Donald Trump, some of them already done bowed the knee to him. I ain't even gonna go through all of it. Y'all see them. But some of them who were really vocal about he was this and you a coon if you do this and that for Trump went and did exactly that. Shamed themselves in the highest order. We need more Mordecais. I don't care who voted for you. I ain't bowing to no man, as we know it's commanded Israel not to bow to nothing but Yah. Mordecai bowed not and didn't do him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgress thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was an Israelite. Mordecai sounded like one of us. He done told Esther, don't reveal to them no Israelite. But out in the field, though, outside, when they had me about bowing, I'm an Israelite. I ain't bowing to no heathen. Mordecai, take your own advice, man. You got Esther in here talking about some don't bow. And you out here on, I'm an Israelite. I ain't bowing to nobody. Sound like some of us. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And I think Haman coming and going in this gate, he ain't even noticed that Mordecai wasn't bowed. But the people around who noticed it, they're like, why you don't bow? And he like, you know, the ways it is, like, we don't bow to no man, definitely no heathen. They tell him, because they don't like these Israelites anyway. Same reason why I'm talking about this world. The Iranians that's over there today, that really don't even got beef with America. The only reason why they're not America, considered America's top 1, 2, 3 enemy is because their beef is with the people that's in Israel claiming to be the Jews, right? Mind you, it just said Daniel was buried there. They know these stories because in the Quran, these stories would be, at the very least in the Quran, these stories will be represented because they believe the Old Testament. It's the New Testament they don't believe. Yeshua, as they call him, wasn't no Messiah. He was just a prophet, and then Muhammad is the most reverenced prophet. But Muhammad ain't even from the lineage of Israel. But you believe the Old Testament where it said that this prophet would come through the bloodline. But be that as it may, the same way they like we don't even feel these Israelites anyway. It's bigger than he won't bow. He an Israelite. We don't feel them anyway. That's their problem in the end. The Iranians of today, because you all know that them people ain't the people of the book. Y'all say it all the time. All of the people in the Middle East say it all the time. Your problem is you may know that, you may speak that, but you won't say who is them people. Because, and I don't care how they would try to spin it, because I've heard some of them try to spin that very topic. The reason why they do that like that is because they rather deal with them European Jews than to say, you niggas is really the people of this Bible, which shows you a hatred that they have, just like Haman. I say that story because that's exactly the same mentality why Haman, like, not only won't he bow, he one of them Israelites. He wanted the real Israelites. Nah, okay. Haman like, I got something for him. Haman full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Israelites. Mind you, in the Persia at this time, you ain't just got Yehuda. That's why this word is used so broad. Because the Assyrians then took the 10 northern tribes and already moved them west of the Jordan, I believe. It just said that the Persians are in control of everything from India to Ethiopia, which would mean that the 10 northern tribes, and we can't sit here and say, well, the 10 northern tribes have forgot who they were by this time. No, they haven't, because the book of Tobit is wrote right around this time, and they knew they was the 10 northern tribes, and we're still going back to Jerusalem for Passovers, is what's stated in the book of Tobit. No, they knew who they was. So these Persians, the Babylonians too, but these Persians, speaking to the time, when he say he's going to destroy all the Jews, he ain't just talking about Benjamin and Judah. He talking about all the Israelites, the 10 northern tribes that spread throughout these 127 provinces too. Haman sought to destroy them all that were throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Xerxes, they cast that is, the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. They cast I don't really know what that means. A lot, as by beads of broken pieces. Oh, or pure. So this is whatever they're casting is supposed to be considered pure. Let's see what it says in the root of this. Pour, to crush, break, bring not. Okay. They cast something before Haman from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month. So I guess, in my mind, I see a situation like when King Jaffe Joe Fur got out of that limo in New York and they had all the roses in the barbershop, and Eddie Murphy and was like, why y'all bring all that up in here? Oh, I might have to watch that today. That's just too funny. But that's what I see happening here is what I'm assuming this is that they're saying. And Haman said unto King Xerxes, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. And their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. And that's how they do it, right? Behind the scenes, they go to whatever leaders or whatever nations. Take the Spanish Inquisition, for example. They went to the Catholics and the what's the bomb name? The Pope. And was like, you got these black Israelites here that won't. They don't, they sacrificing goats and lambs for Passovers. They ain't keeping Easter and Christmas like us. They doing something a little different. If you think I'm lying, go look into the Spanish Inquisition. They kicked our people out, sent them to West Africa. This is why when the Papal Bull of 1492, I believe, came through the Portuguese, it might have been after 1492, don't let me lie. But when the Papal Bull came from the Pope to the Portuguese about slavery, they went straight down to the west coast of Israel, Africa. Zabutan, I think is the name, right? To take the very people who they had put there. Don't ever get it twisted. When them people started the slave trade and they was on the west coast of Africa grabbing these black folks amongst all these other black folks, quote unquote, right? They knew who they was looking for. They wasn't just looking for random Africans. No, they knew who they was looking for. That's why them African princes and kings of them other tribes was like, yeah, we do know people who be sacrificing lambs and talk about Passovers. They live over there. Matter of fact, we gonna help you catch some, but y'all gotta leave us all that gold they got and some of their women. Y'all gotta leave us because don't let them, they try to play our children like we was just living like how they depict Africa, right? Like everybody just living in the woods with bush skirts and no, we always been that. No, we was over there rich. We had communities that was envied amongst them tribes of them Hamites, and they was like, yeah, we gonna get them for y'all, but y'all gotta pay us this, pay us that, pay us this. Same thing. And that's how they did under Spanish Inquisition. There was Ashkenazi European Jews amongst our people in the Spanish Inquisition. Remember, I brought up dude Aaron Lopez, who had one of the first plantations here in America. It was in Rhode Island. I was wrong around South Carolina. Remember when we read his story on Wikipedia, it said that his family converted to Catholicism when the Spanish was kicking Israel out of Portuguese. The European Israelites at that time, who was acknowledging we were them and trying to be around us. And I believe that's the time when they started to say, you know what? Move them people to West Africa. We're going to boat them to this whole other land where they'll be forgotten. And then here in Europe, because that's where it started, we going to claim to be them. We the people of the Bible. And it worked until it didn't work. And you know what you see today? It's starting to not work. It's starting to not work. They got a war brewing, just like America got a war brewing. And that's what Haman did. Yeah, them people don't keep them laws, blah, blah, blah. It don't profit you to feel them, which go to show you Yah's plan and work again. Because we have Esther, who's the queen, who the king cares a lot about, who don't none of them know yet that she's an Israelite. And she in the house. And she's honored in the house. Not only by Xerxes, because the way Xerxes honor her, we already see that the chamberlain who was over the women honor her. Probably all of the concubines and all the other women honor her. All the servants honor her. You know how honor goes, especially once the king say this is the queen and I ultimately honor her. Even if you thought to not to, you honor her. And she's in the house already. Verse 9, if it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasury. If it please the king, let it be written that these Israelites be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business. And then we're going to pay 10,000 talents of silver to anybody who destroys these Israelites and kills them all. Or is he saying he will give the king 10,000 talents of silver to allow them to do it? I'm not sure. But we're going to spend some money for this to go through. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Medatha, the Agagite, the Israelite enemy. And we know from Torah, if you're an enemy of Israel, you're an enemy of Yah. Even when Israel wrong, if you're an enemy of Israel, you're an enemy of Yah. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also to do with them as it seemed good to you. Do what you got to do. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, Passover. Think about that. It was the preparation day. And there was written according to all that Haman had communed unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over every province and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof and to every people after their language. In the name of King Xerxes was it written and sealed with the king's ring. Just like he made a decree about all the women, honor your wives. He wrote it in every language to every province. And let them know we ain't honoring these Israelites no more. Wherever they be, however they be, whatever they own. Seal it with the king's ring. Sound like the Pope with that papal bull. Go get them folks and you boat them over there. Sound like Jim Crow laws. It was sealed with the king's ring. You can't eat with us. You can't do none of that with us. And I heard somebody joke. Matter of fact, it was Shelly's brother. He said to me once, he said, how we go from Mammy being in the big house with the slave owners, breastfeeding white children, to now she can't even sit in the room and she can't even sit at the same restaurant and eat with you. Think about how silly-minded that sounds. She was good enough to feed your children from her breast, but she can't even pee in the same bathroom as you? Okay. That's what this sounds like to me. And there's been Spanish Inquisition. The Pope and them sealed it with a ring. All spots where Catholicism is big, starting with the Spanish Inquisition, which was in Portugal, Spain, that area, right? Seal it with a ring. They got to go. There's been many times where these nations and these kings done spoke like that about us. I think Nebuchadnezzar made decree after the boys wouldn't bow to the statue. Did he make a decree saying Israel ain't got to bow when this national anthem come on? I'm not even sure. But there's been many times. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Israelites, young and old, little children and women, in one day. Another decree, Herod, when the wise men ain't come back, man, go down to Bethlehem and kill every Israelite boy under the age of 2. Pharaoh, when Moses was born, a decree, go down there and kill every one of them Israelites under a certain age. They waiting for a Messiah. Of which I don't even believe. Herod might have believed that growing up an Edomite. He grew up too close to Israel. He knew he would have known the ways and the way prophecy worked. Pharaoh more than likely didn't even care nothing about none of that. I don't even believe that, but just because it's a possibility and they say it, go down there and kill them boys. Women, children, everybody in one day. And up on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Dar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. And as you see, the blue here is supposedly a copy of that letter. Be that as it may, we're going to leave that where it be. If you want to go back and look at the book of Esther in the Apocrypha, which was taken out of the KJV in 1885, you can go back and read the contents of the letter. Esther chapter 3, verse 13. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. So he did it at Passover on the first day and said, on this 12th day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, I'm going to give y'all the rest of this year to get ready, but be ready against that day. Verse 15, the post went out being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan, the palace, and the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city Shushan was perplexed. Yeah, because you got a lot of Israelites around, and y'all know how our people is. For every enemy, there's always somebody in the wing who like, I like rap though. What you talking about? I'm breakdancing with them and hooping. No, we go. Even when you think about how that stuff got so popular here in America, that's a testimony to Yah, because that's why, with all of the enemy of the heathen, you got pockets of them who, for simple reasons, like because they like basketball and football, and Lamar Jackson is their favorite player, who like, no, y'all can't just, you finna do what? Who for the simplest reason today, who gonna entertain us if you go do all of that? They all entertainment. No. The people at NASA, when you remember the movie Hidden Figures, the women who had all of them equations for them to get them satellites at the time or to get rockets off the planet in general. I remember the one scene with I can't even think of her name, Taraji, when she was late, and he was like, "Why you always late?" And she was like, "Well, you know, it ain't no black only bathrooms over here. I got to run halfway across the campus just to use the bathroom." And what did he do? He tore down the signs of the whites only bathroom and told the white folks, "Man, let this black woman over here. She the one with the equation. We making her go across it." It's always some heathens in the pocket somewhere that need something from an Israelite that's perplexed when they old people get to acting away like we kind of need them though. That's why the city perplexed. And mind you, the city ain't even know yet that this queen who is beloved because of Vashti was wilding and the people love Esther. They don't even know yet she an Israelite too. So now that I think about this story as we read it, I can see why I went up the way it did. I can see why I went up the way it did. Knowing that Yah was guiding all of this. Chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes. Mordecai like, oh man. I was cool with not bowing to this chump and they killing me. I'm willing to go for what I'm standing on. But he didn't use this to get the king to say he gonna kill every Israelite. Oh man. He rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. This is why we got to be careful too, the way we do some of these things in this awakening too. Because, and you all know this in your everyday life. Y'all ain't out gang banging. But because the media pushes that all black men is gang bangers, you have to check a heathen somewhere trying to address you a certain way behind that. Since the media push that we don't go to school and we ain't smart and we ain't this and that, some of y'all, Shelly, I know, when she was in pharmacy school or whatnot, you have to check a heathen somewhere playing with your intelligence because the media and movies play all us like we just ratchet and reckless and unintelligent. And you have to check a heathen somewhere like, yeah, you better stop believing what you saw on Fox News about me. You have to check one. I say that because even to this day, a small percent of Israel has, and it ain't just white folks here. The Asians do it, the Arabs do it, some Latin folks do it. They will judge all of our people based off of Chicago is a prime example. All of you all here who are from this area know this. When you talk to people outside this area, you have to let them know that all them killers is a small part of what's going on here. Because the way the media put it, every one of you niggas is up there playing with guns and killing each other. It's a lot of black folks from other area that think that about here about our own people because that's the way it's presented. And Mordecai like, yo, that's the way they did it with him. And even in this awakening, these jokers on these corners who be shaming themselves don't represent everybody in this awakening, but that's the way it's presented. Which is why my homie told that lady he was an Israelite, and she was like, yeah, I don't know if I want you at my house no more. No, I don't know. But he told me the tone changed on the Bible conversation. Ever since he said that, it's looked a little different. I gotta stop laughing at that. Don't y'all just be running off telling nobody you know Israelite, because just like Mordecai, as soon as you say that, you are associated with that. Now, if you're ready to give a defense for the hope, which is what the scriptures say we all need to be able to do, then take off. If you ain't ready for that, just continue to speak the word to power, man, and let your actions and what you say dictate you. You don't got to put a title on yourself. Ain't no Israelite nowhere really had to tell nobody they was no Israelite. You just move accordingly. Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out in the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning amongst Israelites, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. If our people knew better, you would have that now. What was going on with this United States government? It's a lot of, I won't say mourning, I won't go that far. It may be headed that way. But you got a large percentage of quote unquote black folks that are, and not even like the occulty is talking about. You got a lot of Latin folks. You got a lot of different communities right now that's a little distraught about the way this government is moving. This will be a time to put on sackcloth and ashes as a nation, but the nation don't know that we need to do that. But that's why we have to stay in prayer about these things right now. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hatach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. She sent raiment to him. Go clothe him. It's against the king's commands to be in sackcloth and come in the gates. Go clothe him and bring him in here so I can holler at him. Mordecai refused it. Well, look, you need to go out to the street and ask him what's going on for me. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Israelites to destroy them. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. She ain't even told him he an Israelite yet. And this copy of this decree, they passing this pamphlet out like it's a flyer for a party, which kind of reminds you once again of the stories of hearing that on Christmas they would go in the square and hang a slave and the kids, and they would celebrate and as they hung and burned some slave in some town square right here in America. And know how mangy heathens is, they was probably making roasted marshmallows off the body of some slave that was dying. I don't put it past them. I don't know that, but I don't put it past them. They'd have passed out flyers. It's a party. December 13th, which I'm saying December 12th month, but to them that wouldn't have been the 12th month. But on the 12th month, on the 13th day, we out here killing niggas. Think about that. That actually really does sound like something in America they're doing. These white boys be giddy. And then all the folks who be talking jazzy about Chicago will be trying to get to Chicago, because one thing I know for sure, they ain't running through the South Side talking about killing niggas. They have a war on their hands. They better come with some SEALs or something. They better come with some Rangers and some tanks. You just no good old boy thinking you finna come out South killing black folks. Please, you ain't going home. That's the funny, it's funny how y'all does these things, because as reckless as Chicago is, that's why you don't be hearing about all the white hate crimes popping off in the city. They like, oh, them boys using them guns. We ain't gonna go down there playing. No, we gonna catch the ones in Decatur, Illinois somewhere and play with them. We ain't even, no. We ain't finna go out west though. They can have that. They can have that. But they passing out the decree like a party flyer. Come down, we killing Negroes. I could see that in America. It'll be people you thought was cool at your job who will be smiling in your face thinking, I can't wait to come smack you upside your... Oh, boy. And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spake unto Hathach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, and it ain't just Chicago either, they wouldn't be playing in Dade County and Miami with them. They wouldn't just be down running into certain spots in New Orleans wanting to play with them. They just wouldn't be in certain spots out in California like Oakland and LA. And it's a lot of spots, smaller spots. They just wouldn't be playing with them in Youngstown, Ohio, and Cincinnati. I don't know. Joliet'll be 50-50. But I do believe it'll be a battle here. But it ain't just Chicago. It's a lot of certain spots where they just wouldn't be running through trying to play. New Jersey, Philly, Baltimore. There's a lot of spots where they just wouldn't be playing. Let me say that. It ain't just Chicago, which is the gift and the curse of the recklessness of our people, because it's like, dang, we playing with our own people. But on the same token, in a situation like this, well, a lot of heathens will think twice before they run through the right spot. I don't think they'd just go playing with them in Atlanta. Atlanta, they got vicious. They have a shootout on their hands in Atlanta. You ain't just coming to kill Negroes in some of these spots, but be that as it may. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come unto the king these 30 days. So maybe she have seen the king since they've been married, but it's been 30 days because I don't know how long all this is transpiring. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Israelites. He told Esther, look, you the wife of the king. And I still don't believe that they know you an Israelite yet. But don't think you're going to be safe in there. That's something a lot of these celebs and rich Negroes is learning in America today. Don't think just because they didn't accept you in Hollywood, you got a little money, you safe. Jonathan Majors wasn't safe. There was a video of Jonathan Majors running away from a white woman and they fired him. Boy, Jonathan Majors was running from a woman and they said, no, you can't even be king no more. No, it's a lot of Negroes who learned this the hard way. Don't think just because you ain't safe. The people will come try you, Diddy. They'll try you, R. Kelly. Bill Cosby went in for a deposition. He didn't even have a case. Bill Cosby went to tell that story, to my understanding. He was in Philadelphia, I believe, and he went to tell about some of those things around him for like some deposition. Maybe somebody was suing him or something. They brought a case behind when he said that he was supposed to be and what he was supposed to be to be a case. You will learn. You will learn. There's a lot of Negroes here who done learn. Don't think just because you sit in the king house, you okay. A lot of house niggas in slavery learned that. You think because you up there and they taught you how to read and instead of pork, they let you get some little scrap chicken legs or something that you good. That chicken wasn't even good. Them people don't know how to fry no chicken. Nah, I'm just... You will learn. I'm sure there's been plenty house Negro hung too for doing something that Massa didn't like and they replaced him with another Negro and cleaned him up. Don't you think for a second just because you up there accepted by them people that you okay. You are not okay. For if thou altogether hold thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Israelites from another place. But you and your father's house shall be destroyed. And who know whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Don't think, Esther, this is real. I get it. But I need you to remember, cuz. I need you to remember, cuzzo. I need you to remember, Cuddy. It's real out here for us. Then Esther bade them return to Mordecai this answer. But see, this where righteousness come in. Can you imagine going to tell Oprah that today? Oprah, they finna kill all these Israelites. You need to go in to Donald Trump. Because Oprah and Trump done been friends. She done been a celebrity with him. I'm sure they done been cool over the years. I'm positive of that. Oprah, we need you to go in there and tell Donald Trump that deporting all these Mexicans, making it hectic, blah, 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 blah. And she like, well, you know that Donald Trump them got a decree that if you just show up at the White House unannounced, they gonna kill you. Oprah, that don't matter. We need you to go up there and tell them all that DEI talk got it hectic, man. We are fighting white boys because it's wild and it's a war zone in all them cities I talked about. And I can see Oprah right now saying, I ain't going to put my life on the line for that. I'm worth 4-5 billion. You niggas on y'all alone. I hate to throw Oprah out there like that, but her posture just doesn't come off like some righteous sister who go. Matter of fact, I do. I don't have a problem doing her like that because you seen that with all this Me Too movement. Oprah was friends with Charlie Rose, who was at I think PBS or CBS. He got caught in a sexual assault thing with one of the women's about the Me Too. She ain't said nothing about him. Oprah was really good friends with Harvey Weinstein. She ain't said nothing about him. Quite a few of them other white boys who was pulling them same stunts. Oprah ain't said nothing about them. You know who Oprah make her documentaries about? R. Kelly and Michael Jackson. So I'm pretty sure Esther had a different posture. Esther told that dude, look, go tell cuz this. Gather all the Israelites that are present in Shushan, and we gonna do a fast. And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. This is a real fast. 3 days, 3 nights, no food, no water. I did 3 days, 3 nights, no food, no water before. To be honest with you, it wasn't that bad. I really feel I could have did 7. One of these days, I'm going to just bear down and do 7. I think I could have went 7. Because I got to on the third night, and when before I ate, I knew for sure I could have did at least one more day. But we gonna fast. No food, no water, 3 days, 3 nights. I also, and my maidens will fast likewise. I don't even think the maidens Israelite. Esther on Queen. She like, look, all you chicks in here that's helping, look, can't nobody eat or drink. I don't care what she is. We fasted in here. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. Righteousness, faith. This is the kind of faith we're going to have. I know we read this Bible a lot, and it's about the men, and he said this, and he said that. Kotis, Shebrews, sisters. This is the type of faith you're going to have. I repeat, this is the kind of faith you're going to have. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. And see, then it's the blue again where it goes through that, but I ain't trying to focus on the blue today. We ain't gonna focus on the blue today. Okay. Let's try to get this together 1 second. Esther chapter 5, verse 1. I guess I should have put it in this the whole time. Time is it? Maybe I'll stop right there. We is gonna stop right there. We still got 5 chapters to go. We'll finish this next week. Any questions or comments about any of this that Esther done did? Like I said, based off the count of how me and Josh came up with the year, we started April 8th. Pesach was April 22nd this year. By that estimation, even though we done lost a week, because I seen that it was the new moon last night going into this first day of February. So really this 11 month started now. You know, in the Enoch calendar, it talks about how the patterns of the moon can be a little finicky and you will lose days off certain years. I have not read that much into it to account for it. So I'm still just standing on the 12th month would have started March 8th. So Purim, which is what this is going to come to, will start March 22nd. That's why we kind of reading this right now, but we'll make it make sense next week as we're going to bring this to a close next week. Anybody want to read ahead? We're going to finish the book of Esther. So any questions or comments about Esther? You just see faith is about to take place. And I didn't think about it, but this book of Esther is a lesson of faith, and it's getting hectic right now. So if you hear this, for those of you here and for anybody who hears this later, let Esther's strength and her faith be encouragement that you got it in you. Do some fasting and do some praying. This is a time of humility for all folks. And you know what I hate to say I like that about this time, because I also hate to see people going through it. I hate to see people in disarray. And this folks in disarray a little bit, but not necessarily the celebrity rich class of our people, because you know they think they be on that and they gonna learn. They think they in the house, you know. They think different. They think opposite of Esther. We in the house. We in the king's house. We good. You really not. It ain't got to that yet, but you really not. But up under that, even like the doctors and the professors of our people, everybody feel this crunch that's coming and they see it. And hopefully it causes more of us, myself included, to put on sackcloth and ashes and fast and do some more praying. And I'm a firm believer in understanding that there's differences of belief and understanding and interpretation of the Bible, right? But once again, my hope is that even if we can humble ourselves and do that, it'll open up lines for us to be able to have exchange and to be able to chop it up and to be able to try to get some understanding with each other. But this is a lesson in faith. And we make it into where they finna fast. And then next week, the fruits of Esther's faith will be revealed. And next week, I guess, will be the encouragement of how being faithful can help. But y'all stay faithful. It's real out here. Anything anybody want to add once again before we go? Be a Esther. In a world full of, to my culties here and who may listen, man, in a world full of reckless female rap, be a Esther. For real. Female rap, crazy. Yeah. Oh, but I can't diss it because male rap is crazy too. It's all just reckless. But be a Esther. Hallelujah. Um, Makoti KC, would you like to take us out in prayer if you're there? As we'll let some Makoti shine today, man. Be a Esther. We need it.
Sure. I can take us out in prayer. For sure.
Yeah,
Let's all bow our heads.
yeah, Esther.
Abba, yeah.
Yeah, Esther.
Thank you. This is one of my favorite books. As a matter of fact, very strong woman, very bold.
Hallelujah. My wife said it's her favorite book too.
Yeah, she has a lot of courage. She's standing up for her people, standing on what is right. Trying to protect protect the heritage.
True. And you know what? I didn't even say it, but with you saying that, it just came to mind. Especially in this time with our people, with the way things done happen. There is
Right.
a lot of women who are in like leadership slash trying to be the leaders and guide the communities that raise families. Is even more so a reason why we need more Esters right now than anything.
Oh yeah.
Floor is yours.
Right. Abba Yah, we thank you for this day of Shabbat, day of rest that you told us to guard. Father, we thank you so much for waking us up this morning. We give you all power, excuse me, we give you all praise and glory for the power that you possess. And Abba Yah, we ask that you continue to protect us, continue to build a hedge of protection around each and every family that's on this platform. On those that could not make it, Abba Yah, we just ask that you continue to bring shalom to their homes. Continue to guide us this week and the weeks and months to come, Father, for we know this is a very trying time. But we know that all power is in your hands. And we thank you, Father, that you're allowing us to seek your face and not that of man. So, Father, we ask that everything that we say and do be pleasing to you, Father. We ask that if there's anything in us that's not of you, Father, that you would purge it. Purge it in the name of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. And Abba Yah, we thank you, Father. We thank you that you are a keeper of our minds, that you give us shalom, that you give us peace, and that you give us this day to reflect. For we know that all things are obedient to you, Father. Nature is obedient, animals are obedient. Just help us to be obedient in the walk of righteousness that you will have for us on this path. And Father, just in all things we give you praise. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, hallelujah. Amen.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Wonderful prayer.
Thank you.
Praise Yah.
Josh, I'm gonna try to give you a call sometime this evening, if you're free.
Yes, sir. I'll be looking forward to it, man. Just hit me and yeah, we'll catch up.
For sure. Daniel, I forgot that Shelly has something planned this evening. So tomorrow, maybe even Big Mike too, if you're feeling better, maybe we can do like lunch or something. If
All
y'all,
right, that works. That works.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Shalom, chat.
Amen.
Finishing up, but it's good to see you. Good seeing you.
Hey, how you doing?
We doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Can't complain.
Y'all, this Shelly nephew, man. We give him a pass for being busy. This right here in high school taking college courses, graduate both of
Justin,
Hey,
are you
I
outside?
I,
What
I
you got
just got
good?
back from a HBCU event. So
You see Chastity?
is my camera on? I can't even see anything.
Yeah.
Uh,
You see Cece? She's talking
Hey,
about
I want to see you.
How you doing, CC?
Oh,
My-
my
What's up?
camera's
What's
on.
Oh, there you
It's good seeing y'all though. We'll link, Chaz.
go. Yeah.
Here she go.
What's next? Hello, Mario, the bell.
Say Shabbat Shalom. Say Shabbat Shalom, Mario.
No, oh no, we got Paris.
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody have a great day. Shabbat.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Love
Shabbat
you
shalom.
all.
Family.
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye.